Commissioner Kubilius, Minister Franken, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, it is really a great honor and privilege to join such a high-level group of speakers and be a modest part in this series of opening speech after such great keynote speeches. Let me first thank the organizers for the kind and special invitation to this 5th European Defence and Security Summit, one of the prime events of the European debate. It's a pleasure to be back. It's also my first speech as Secretary General of ASD Europe, only after 6 weeks in the job. I hope I will survive this speech. And a very special pleasure to be back on the at the European Defence and Security Conference in this new capacity and see so many good friends and colleagues in the room. As the previous speakers have noted, we face a new era, which is marked by a new geopolitical paradigm and threat environment. We face the largest conflict in Europe since 1945 and the blurring of the differences between war, crisis and peace. It is clear that the primary responsibility of European security lies with Europe. European defence is undergoing an unprecedented transition from peacetime mode to war readiness. As illustrated by the conflict in Ukraine, we face the changing character of conflict. The role of new technologies probably qualifies the period as one of revolution in military affairs, combining profound tech changes with rapidly evolving doctrines and tactics. This all leads to a welcomed, new and heightened sense of urgency to reinforce Europe's defence and industrial capabilities. After decades of budget reductions and peace dividends, European defence budgets and markets are rapidly growing. This growth is nevertheless unevenly distributed across market segments and across the continent. We also need to note that a significant share of that demand is captured by non-European industry. So in this context, what are our objectives? What we aim for is for Europe to be war-ready. A war-ready European defence and technology industrial base is key. As Commissioner Kubilius just reminded us, in the modern world, battles are won by generals and wars by industry. A war-ready EDTIB must be able to provide European armed forces with all critical capabilities at pace and sustain them also in the event of a high-intensity conflict, attritional peer warfare. So let me stress, the EDTIB is a defense capability on its own. It is critical to our future and our security. This means that we need to first boost production capacity, moving in many domains to mass production. 2, mitigate supply chain dependencies and vulnerabilities, including for critical raw material inputs. Third, increase technological autonomy to enable Europeans to operate with less or limited US support. Critical enablers from that perspective are a priority. Fourth, make sure that Europe is tracking and working on the emergence of potentially disruptive new technologies, in particular where there are no major European players. Fifth, and this is just as important, adapt our mindsets, our regulatory frameworks, adapt our bureaucratic processes, and from that perspective, industry welcomes the defence omnibus that can help reduce red tape. The good news is that we've already achieved significant progress in the recent years, but challenges remain. So in order to meet those, we need to address all of them simultaneously. First of all, we need to manage a rapid demand growth. Our production capacities are still recovering from decades of downsizing and production at slow paces. We still face shortages of skilled workforce, and we need to make sure that we find the tools to train a workforce that is adapted to our demand. We need to address cost increases, supply chain bottlenecks, and dependencies on risky suppliers for critical material input. That ranges from microchips to critical raw material. We have to reduce cumbersome and fragmented regulatory framework, both at the national and the EU level. We need the tools to defragment a domestic first demand. We have to develop, finally, faster procurement cycles, which are partially due to a lack of visibility on customers' long-term plans and priorities. Second broad range of challenge, we need to innovate at pace. New and disruptive technologies are rapidly evolving on the battlefield. This is an issue not only of tech but also of processes to be able to move on at a much faster pace. Second, we need to bring on board new market entrants, including from other sectors and geographies where possible. Third, there is third challenge, there is an element to reconfigure the customer relationship. Shift from a commercial just-in-time logic to a strategic just-in-case logic. From this perspective, world readiness and security of supply requires different modes of information and risk sharing. Industry is evolving and we need to do this together. Fourth, we need to adjust to shifting geopolitics. The brilliant successes of the Ukrainian defense and technological industrial base have been mentioned already twice today. I think we need to learn from the Ukrainians, also work very closely with our Ukrainian friends in this domain. We also need to work closely with non-EU European partners, starting with the United Kingdom. Finally, we also need to recalibrate our links with like-minded allies, the US, Canada, and reduce vulnerabilities and develop, where possible, balanced and mutually fruitful cooperations. So where does that leave us? With the need to develop, and in conclusion, together the ways to pursue objectives and cope with all of these challenges at the same time. We are not in a situation where we have to pick and choose, where we can afford picking and choosing our priorities. We need to pursue all of them simultaneously. This will require a unity of purpose, a shared approach, and an efficient governance. European armament and cooperation is needed and politically possible. First, because it already exists. There are a number of fantastic success stories in the domain, but we can do more to deliver together the critical capabilities and enablers we need, and in a more efficient manner. We also have to reflect on what are the role of the EU and its framework policies and instruments. The EU has emerged as a new and major player and partner for industry, and has showed a new level of leadership. To take the European Union to the next level, we need to work together and make sure that we have the best setup to do so. That means possibly increasing EU funding for defence to a level consistent with the sense of urgency expressed earlier. That's going to be at the heart of the MFF conversation. We need to focus on member states' capabilities, needs and priorities, and work on a governance model that ensures the best possible alignment between the various traditional and new players, the member states, NATO, the European Commission, the European Defence Agency, multinational cooperation frameworks, to leverage the best output of each format and each actor. We need to support technological sovereignty and security of supply. That will make the European industry capable of responding to the needs of our armed forces across the board. And that also requires to define clearly the terms of a European preference that enables European defence readiness. Improving processes and governance, we have to make sure that delays cannot be blamed, are addressed, and they cannot be blamed on industry only. Mainstream defence industries across transversal EU policies and framework to ensure consistency of effort. I have no doubt that Commissioner Kubilius and the team at DG DEFIS are excellent partners, but we need to mainstream this across the board. We need to enhance partnerships with our closest partners. So let me close on a note of optimism after this long list this long to-do list. I have no doubt that a diverse and dynamic European defence industry can deliver its part for European security and address our requirements in the air, maritime, land, space and cyber domains. We have some of the best aerospace and defence companies, a thriving ecosystem of startups and laboratories, and I'm absolutely convinced that they can deliver for our security. I am sure that the European defence and technological industrial base can move faster, be bolder and act together to leverage efficiencies the new influx of funding and the new range of initiatives. On this note of optimism, let me thank you very much, and I look forward to today's conversation.